A revolutionary. Say whoa. Trap revolutionary. Got the wave it too scary. Doing this thing like Malcolm ain't by any means necessary. We ain't got it by no one seen hand. We got the master plan. Get the movement going on. Right here where we stand, man. We bucking and stumping, fist pumping. Even though they tried to set us up for failure and kill us, we keep on coming. That's why somebody gotta step up and say something about the bullshit. Because if not, the blind gon' keep leaving.
What's going on, y'all? I want to do this video. I just thinking about a topic I was talking to somebody else about, a number of people about. Matter of fact, even my homie, he called me today, say he stressed on the job. He want to start working out with me because he feel like his blood pressure going up, and then he doesn't want to be on no medication and like that, blood pressure medication. He like not, and I'm the same way. I'm like, I ain't really trying to be on no medication like that. But he feels like his blood pressure is going up because of his job. He works for working for the city or whatever, man. And he's just like, man, my blood pressure going up. I really know it's the job, but I'm like, man, I want to start working out with you because I know I can get my, basically get my blood pressure better. And I told him, like, man, yeah, bro, just meet me at the gym. I'm gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? That's why I try to work out, try to stay healthy. Because I just know that it'll transfer, later on in life, and where I stay, healthy. I would say though, like I said, I got so used to working out, like doing heavy weight and stuff like that, to where I can say, I can kind of, I don't necessarily have to, lift so heavy, but I guess I do because I'm just so used to it, you know what I'm saying, and having my body look a certain way. But with that said, I know I would probably end up dialing back and doing more calisthenics, stretching and stuff like that to kind of keep my body more flexible and just healthy overall, heart health. So that's one of the things I can say. And then I would even start out like with my homeboy. If he did come work out, I wouldn't even have him trying to do no weight like that. And I actually would have him just doing motion, like range of motion exercises and movement, like exercise. So we squatted, we bench pressed. I probably wouldn't even have him doing no weight. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I would say too in that regard. But I don't want to speak on the subject because I know there's other people out there that are experiencing the issue of, either workplace discrimination or just feeling stressed out, just feeling stressed due to working in, environments with, either a majority, white environment or white workplace, or basically the job has been set up, by basically, a pretty much, white society. That's what the job may have been set up as, either for white people or by white people. And that pretty much that job, the system, is it caters to people that's non-black. Black people get in these roles, and if they do get in certain positions, they face like a stereotypical, a stereotypical view towards them, and it's different for somebody that's black in the workplace, especially when it's more predominantly white people in those workplaces, and it's a number of black people. Black people that they won't say anything, so that's another thing. End up having pent up, frustrations about these things, what I'm saying? And even studying about it, you have like 4 in 10, black people, like 4 in 10 black people. So basically like 41% of the workplace in the U.S. that's experiencing, discrimination in workplace, issues with, being treated unfairly in the workplace, because they are black. They're working in these predominantly white workplace, you know, and it even said that like 25%, like, so of those workers may face, some type, or one in four of those, those people, black, people may face some type of discrimination and then have to, either leave the workplace or, or just stay and face the discrimination because they can't leave. Like it said that like either 17% either have to leave, or what ends up happening is that it's about 23% can't leave because it's like they got obligations, so they can't leave, but it is like noted like 17% of those were noted to like end up like, hey, I can't do it no more. I got to go, so even if it said even in physical, it's noted that it's a physical issue, like 100 fewer minutes of sleep, like, people that face this discrimination in the workplace and, certain microaggressions, which was noted, and that happens, it's like a pack. Cause man, it's so many people I know that have faced like, and I got a homeboy that's a performance. I talked in the prior video. Somebody I ended up knowing that was an administrator, in the school system, whatever, facing like microaggressions, people, everybody is like saying, hey, they're gonna go out for food and then they'll get something they think, the black people want. And they don't necessarily want, what they ordered them. Not even asking, like, oh, we got you this. Like, nah, man, I didn't want the fried chicken. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that, homeboy, it's a pharmacist. He in the workplace saying people, like threatening him. He ain't told me like, man, it made me feel like a slave. I mean, this man is a pharmacist. He done went to pharmacy school. You know what I'm saying? Done put his time in and become a pharmacist. Probably one of the hardest professions known to man. Like, you got to know all these different drugs and the scientific uses of these drugs, and people treating you like, you ain't nothing. Coming to the window, and just, saying anything, any type of thing. You better have my medication. If you don't have my medication, I'm calling. I'm gonna call. I'm gonna call headquarters on you. Stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, I think that it need to be said though, man. I think we need to be able to express ourselves and not feel like. And it said as well, it's like 4 out of 8 people that do say something and speak up in the workplace, they face even more discrimination. So the people that be quiet about it, they kind of, like, hey man, I'm gonna be quiet. I ain't gonna say nothing because I don't want to, cause no issues. I don't want to, raise no eyebrows, man. So I'm gonna just not say anything, and then they end up leading, like I said, leading to even worse health, because like they have pent up frustration that they don't say anything, and that even leads to more stress. But the people that do speak up, it's like they face, like I said, 4 to 8 more times possible targeting, in the workplace, And even like me, I worked for General Motors for years, man, and they ain't found a noose at General Motors. You know what I'm saying? A noose in the workplace. They had to shut down the whole plant and come, and talk about it. Yeah, they found a noose, man, like hanging, in the workplace. Somebody put up at General Motors, Now, of course, my dad worked at General Motors. When he worked there, he said it really wasn't. They were just now bringing in black people to work at General Motors. Now it's pretty much predominantly black up there where I was, at General Motors in Arlington. But like I said, even there, somebody hung a noose, man, because, just it seems like when, black people do start trying to come up and do something for themselves, white people get mad, so this is a workplace where you got predominantly black people. But of course, like I said before, the system was set up by white people. So still, you got that element there to where, okay, we don't like the fact we got all these, black people, and they probably say, the N word. We don't like the fact, that they trying to take over the workplace and pretty much be the predominant workers, also supervisors in the workplace. So yeah, we gonna uh, pretty much ruffle their feathers. You know what I'm saying? We gonna show them like, hell, now, we still feel a certain way. This is what it is. You know, and that's what I said. They literally hung the news, man. I think that was like 20. Let me see, maybe 2016. Maybe I was on second shift too. I was working on the day shift from 2 to 10. They did that in maybe 2016, 17, 18, something like that. And yeah, they had to, shut the plant down because of that, man. It's just like, it just seems like we can't, and also in the UK too, we want to say this well, like 70% of black workers in the UK feel like they face discrimination in different type of stereotypical type of views and workplace discrimination in the UK. So it's not only black people here, but even in the UK, it seems like when there are black people and they get in the workplace with white people, it's always going to be some type of problem. And white people do certain things like those microaggressions. And then in some cases, like just straight up violence. Like 2026, I want to say like it went up from 19% in maybe 2020 to like 2026, like 26% of workplace violence. So it's like, man, that's a problem. And I think that, it needs to be addressed. Now, it needs to be a safe place too for black people to talk about it and not be discriminated against. But but like I said, it's some black people just not gonna talk about it because they don't want to, raise any eyebrows. And the fact that they don't want to make other people feel like, oh, I feel some type of way about this. They want to stay within the hey, I'm cool, type of view or whatever. Like, hey, this ain't affecting me, but it really is. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want their white coworkers to feel like they are affected. You see what I'm saying? So it's just pent up frustration and stress behind that. They don't even express themselves and let people know, like, say, man, I'm going through it. They'll rather play it cool than like speak out. But I know that people need to speak out so it won't continue to go on, because when you don't speak out, it continues to go on. Nothing is going to change. You know what I'm saying? So it's best to just speak out, and do something about it instead of like had a pent up frustration when you stressed out, your health is possibly affected, instead of you speaking out and saying something, you letting and you basically letting it go on, what I'm saying, instead of speaking up about it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't make an effort, if you don't try to change nothing, it's not going to change nothing. So, that's what I would say. But yeah, I just want to, say something about that, man, because like, yeah, we can't continue to like let stuff like this go on and then, not say nothing about it. And then our health is affected. And then it continues to progress and proliferate in the workplace. You know what I'm saying? And then I would even say as well, we need to create our own anyway. That's just what it is. We need to create our own jobs in ways for, to be able to provide for ourselves in that sense as well. But I would also say, also, if it's possible, to find a better way, to work with within the workplace, and and all of us, try to do something to benefit each other, because I just feel like sometimes, man, certain workplace discrimination is not going to change, but at the same time, it could. We still could try to find a way to all work together. You know what I'm saying? And try to make that workplace discrimination or, certain workplace issues, stereotypical type of views, those, like I said, those microaggressions and people, just doing certain things, or even the blatant racism, we need to make sure that is put to a stop. And then I feel like also, it's other white people that would be willing to, work and make it better, make the workplace better, for everyone. You know what I mean? Like everybody working together to make the workplace better, because sometimes, it's just what it's going to be. certain black people gonna end up working with white people, and white people gonna end up working with black people. So that's just what it's gonna be. But it does need to be, where it's addressed, and not where it's just continued. It's just that particular racism, discrimination, or people feeling like they're not heard, or even if they do voice their opinions, or if they voice their opinions, they're gonna be discriminated against even more. It just can't continue going. It shouldn't continue to go on. That type of thing. That's why I say it need to be addressed in something where that particular workplace can evolve to accommodate everyone, and benefit everyone, But some people just not gonna change, man. Some people feel like they are entitled, and black people should not be entitled to their workspace or the benefit of them making a living for themselves. That's just what it is. Some people just are not going to feel that way. But like I said, an effort has to be made to change certain instances in the workplace for the better. And for those that just can't get along, or just don't want to get along, they're going to have to move around. That's just what it is. They need to move around and make way for the people that will. Because in this society, like I said, even in the UK, the workplace we're going to end up working together anyway. It's no way to prevent it. We are in this society, and that's pretty much not going to change. So you might as well just go ahead and work together and make it better. Instead of like, oh, I don't like you. You shouldn't have this. You shouldn't have that. And that needs to be understood. And for the people that just can't, they can't get along with, can't get with the program, they need to be, giving their little old resignation or whatever, giving their ticket to, to go ahead and go somewhere else, So that's what I would say, saying, yeah, they need to go ahead and get them their little old a release package or whatever, And so that's just what it needs to be, man. I think we need to just speak up. And also have like I said, something that benefits us, and we can have, a way to talk about that amongst ourselves, but also in the workplace as well. It needs to be something, because it's like, yeah, man, people, doing the things they're doing. Yeah, that type of act, those type of action, that type of behavior just can't continue, But people will want it to continue just for the simple fact they want to have something to hate, have something to hate for no reason, because they just don't want to see black people do well or receive the benefits of making a living for themselves. Just what it is, But like, those people got to go, and it needs to be a way for them to be let go, So, and we had to keep pushing it too, so we can get, an equal, benefit in the workplace. We belong, and you have black people have just as much credentials, or even more credentials than some, people in the workplace that are there just because it's not to the credentials, but because of their skin color, and using the good old boy system or whatever to get into place, position that they're in, But anyway, I'm gonna get up out here, man. I just want to say that I really want us to, I said, not be stressed out and going through it, having these, conditions in the workplace, we stressed out, or health conditions, that we're going through and experiencing because of the stress, of the workplace, because of this discrimination and, like I said before, the microaggressions and feeling like we can't speak up, and blatant racism, to where we are feeling like we can't leave because some people, hey, like I said, got obligations, and just beyond stressed out, So I do, man, want us to be able to get past this and be able to do better or evolve from this, help the workplace evolve, like I said, from that draconian mindset of, that it's really a kiddie mindset, you know, where you can't have, I don't want you to have it because you black, you know, mentality. To evolve from that, man, you know, and all of us can do better, you know, because it don't make no sense of, like I said, you got these people in the workplace simply they don't want, you know, black people to have or do better or do well, do better than them, you know, because they just what it is. They don't want to see black people have anything, you know, or have more than them, you know, or progress further than them, you know, simply because, you know, of the color of our skin, simply because we black, you know, so. That needs to be said. It needs to be addressed. And then, you know, don't fear or turn away from it. Like, go on, address it. You know, it's just what it is, you know, because nothing's going to change without the effort to make the change, you know. But yeah, I just want to say that, you know, let's try to do better and then make a way to do better, you know, and talk about it. You know, don't be afraid. And I'm talking to y'all out there, man. If y'all in the workplace, man, talk about it. You know, you can't talk about it, you know, in the workplace, maybe talk about it with your friends or some family, man, and come up with a strategy, come up with a way to stop it. You know what I'm saying? Because ain't no use us working in no workplace, man. We stressed out. We fearing discrimination or these, like I said, these acts of aggression or whatever, or microaggression. People out here, you know, being racist towards us, you know, simply because we in the workplace, you know, and we trying to, you know, provide a living for ourselves, and we black, simply because we black. But anyway, I'm gonna get up out here. I just want to say that, you know, I appreciate y'all again for watching my videos, liking them, you know, whatever, sharing, you know, showing me love. I'm gonna keep on doing the videos and showing y'all love back. But this is just a topic I want to get on because this is something that needs to be said. I hope y'all out there doing well, living life full of love and happiness. Strive for greatness every day and being great. But anyway, until next one, y'all. Love y'all. All right, y'all.
Fuck it, go ahead and blow off the dough. Step through the maze, man, and became amazing. About to rewrite history and change a page in a crooked book that never told us the true story. Like how we were kings and queens before the slave story, before the killing, stealing, and drug dealing on some real shit. We ran the world.